All right, now we're going to start covering off-board artillery missions and how they work. Now, an off-board artillery mission is going to be listed down in your scenario booklet under your order of battle. It's going to look something like this, like I've got on screen, 2 times off-board artillery mission, and then it'll have in parentheses the firepower of the fire mission itself. Now, just like onboard mortars, these can be called in by good order leaders, scouts, or advisors. Now, to start the fire mission itself, you're going to start by having an eligible unit place the spotting round within its line of sight. So we have a German leader here. Obviously, he can call in an off-board artillery mission. So he's going to place his spotting round somewhere within his line of sight that he can see. And he's going to place it right here, trying to hit these 2 American squads. The hex does not need to be spotted to take and have a spotting round placed into it. Now, at this point, you're going to take and roll 2d6, and your white die is going to determine the amount of drift that the round has, and your colored die is going to determine what direction that drift is. So let's say we rolled a 1 on our green die and a 3 on our white die. The formula for the white die is the white die itself plus any degrading terrain minus leadership modifier divided by 2 equals the scatter. Okay, sounds complicated. It's really not. There's no degrading terrain here, so we would add none. We would take and subtract his leadership modifier of 1, bringing us down to a 2, and then we divide it by 2, giving us a 1. That tells us the spotting round is going to move by 1 hex. The green die tells us what direction, and you always start with the north as 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So our spotting round is going to drift 1 hex to the north. So you'll place the spotting round after you determine its drift, and if the spotting round is outside of the line of sight of the original unit calling it in, then you just remove the spotting round at that point, and they would be marked ops complete at that point. Otherwise, the leader, advisor, whoever's calling it in, can take and shift by 1 hex the spotting round as long as it stays within line of sight, or they can abort the fire mission and just cancel it without actually spending the fire mission. So our leader here, he's going to want to shift this by 1 hex because where it is currently, it will hit both squads and the German squad. So he's going to shift it back down 1 hex. Now is the time when you will take and replace the spotting round with a fired for effect marker instead. And when you do that, that's when you actually spend the fire mission itself. When you do this, the fire mission goes off and it's going to attack with its designated firepower, the hex itself, and the 6 surrounding hexes. So these 6 surrounding hexes would be hit with a 5 firepower attack, and that would include enemy and friendly units. Leadership modifier is not going to apply, but any other direct fire table modifiers will apply with the exception of hills and walls for obvious reasons. Now, just like the onboard mortars, this fire for effect marker is going to stay for the remainder of the turn. It's going to hit units that take and enter in later, including the 6 surrounding hexes, and it's going to be considered degrading terrain. There are some limitations when it comes to calling in off-board artillery. You can only do it normally once per turn unless the scenario notes it otherwise, unless you have 2 separate formations that each have their own fire missions. If Formation Unit A has a set of fire missions and Formation Unit B has a set of fire missions, they could each call in 1 fire mission on the same turn.